What we're talking about here is one coastal community in regional New South Wales, and it's one MP in the state parliament. But the situation that exists right now is so unusual, so complicated, that our very system of democracy offers no clear path on how to manage it.
Look, I'm looking forward to Saturday and continuing to be the local member.
A few weeks ago, Gareth Ward won the state seat of Kiama for a fourth term.
Gareth Ward has been allowed back into Parliament.
Despite serious criminal charges hanging over his head.
And it's left the people in the electorate of Kiama in limbo.
It was a relief. It was a relief because I've had so much said about me, so much thrown at me, so much over time that it was something really special, and it's something I won't ever forget.
A full 12 months before the election, Gareth Ward was charged with 3 counts of indecent assault, 1 count of sexual intercourse without consent, and 1 count of common assault. Police allege Ward indecently assaulted a 17-year-old boy in 2013 and sexually assaulted a 27-year-old man in 2015. He's been committed to stand trial in the New South Wales District Court in April next year. Voters must have at times had questions about the situation that you're in.
Well, look, I think that's something you need to ask voters, but one thing...
But did they ask you?
Very rarely, actually. I think voters always get it right.
Gareth Ward joined the Liberal Party when he was at school. He was elected to the local council when he was just 22 and became the state MP for Kiama aged 29. In his 3rd term in government, he became the Minister for Families, Communities and Disability Services.
I was the first Minister for Disabilities to actually have lived experience of disability. Because of my albinism, I've been legally blind since birth. So to be able to say to people in my position that you can actually achieve what it is you want to set out to achieve is really powerful.
2 years ago, Ward quit the Liberal Party to become an independent MP when it was revealed that he was being investigated by police. And last year, things became even more complicated when charges were laid.
While the member is entitled to the presumption of innocence, as any citizen is, the standards expected of an elected member of Parliament are not compatible with the seriousness of the charges he is facing.
The New South Wales Parliament quickly voted to suspend Gareth Ward from the chamber, which means over the last year the constituents of Kiama haven't had a voice in Parliament.
Well, Gareth Ward's in a pickle. He faces suspension a 2nd time, and if that's the case, he simply won't be able to do his job. He won't be able to properly represent the interests of his community.
George Williams is a professor of constitutional law.
This is a really unusual scenario. In fact, I can't think of this happening before in Australia. Normally when someone is charged with serious offences, let alone historic sex offences, they tend to disappear as quickly as possible, certainly don't stand for re-election, and of course it's unheard of they'd be re-elected by their community before these charges being resolved.
It would have been very easy. It would have been very easy to walk away and simply say this is all too hard.
So you did consider that?
Look, it was one of the things that I thought about at the time, but I honestly believe, why would you turn away from doing the job you love, continuing the work that you think is so important, and putting your name forward?
How can you, though, represent the community fully whilst you're preparing to go before the courts on such a serious matter?
I'll stack my record up against anybody else's, and people are innocent until proven otherwise. And I think to suggest that I can't do that job infers something that isn't there. I've continued to do my job. In fact, I've been on the crossbench for 2 years. People actually got a taste of what I was like as an independent. It's not like this was sort of like an overnight change. And people saw what I was delivering, and they were happy to back that in again at an election, which is very humbling given the current circumstances.
It's fair to say the member for Kiama makes headlines for all sorts of reasons. Back in 2017, Gareth Ward was on holidays in New York and ordered a massage. He was met, he says, by 2 men at his hotel room door trying to extort money from him. Then, in 2020, he was found twice in one night, naked and disorientated, wandering outside his Sydney apartment. He needed to be escorted home by police. He says this was as a result of medication from a procedure earlier that day. Why can some politicians sail through that kind of thing where it would bring others down?
Well, I'm not going to be compared to anyone else. I am who I am, Hamish, and I'm proud of what I've been able to do. All of us have events in our lives that others can seek to use to characterise. I'm simply who I am. I'm proud of what I've been able to deliver. Sure, I've had some tough times in my life and some tough battles. Everyone does. But I think that's what makes perhaps me more relatable than some, is that I'm perhaps a bit more honest about some of the challenges.
Very soon, when the New South Wales Parliament returns for its first sitting, members may have to decide whether or not Gareth Ward can remain in the chamber.
Well, I think it'd be very unwise for Parliament to suspend him.
Anthony Wheely is a former judge and chair of the Centre for Public Integrity.
First of all, because if the notion of suspension is tied up with confidence by the electorate in the person they've elected to Parliament, then he's passed that test already. However, it might be seen as a political move too, which to my mind undermines the integrity of Parliament.
I think it was right to suspend Gareth Ward in the last Parliament, but would be wrong to suspend him now. Things have changed. His community, with full knowledge, have chosen to re-elect him. I think that should be respected. They should have their local member, and if he's suspended, it could be for months or even years, and that's just not appropriate in our democracy. His re-election needs to stand for something.
The Minns Labor government has told us they are not considering a suspension motion against Gareth Ward when Parliament resumes, but they will be referring him to the Privileges Committee.
And then we'll see whether a vote does go to the lower house, where people will vote, and if there's a majority, he would be suspended.
Look, I think it's extraordinary that the Parliament should seek to try and suspend a member who's been elected by their community. I mean, at the end of the day, it's not the Labor Party or the Liberal Party that get to determine who represents any particular community. Local people get to decide what they believe they want in their local member and to make whatever decision they deem appropriate.
Given the charges against you, can you visit a school?
Look, there's nothing in the bail conditions that say that I can't.
Do you visit schools?
I would if I would be invited to visit a school or any particular community event. I just simply ask, why would you ask that question?
Well, the reason we asked the question is that last year, New South Wales Education Minister Sarah Mitchell said that within hours of Gareth Ward being charged, she requested that he be banned from entering schools across his electorate. Her successor, Prue Carr, confirmed that ban is still in place. Ward told us he's never received any notification of a ban.
I love Gareth. I think he's a very hard worker. He's got the community in mind.
All the noise around him hasn't bothered you?
Not at all, no.
I don't think he should be representing until all them charges are proven not guilty. I believe he's done lots of good, but them charges are pretty ordinary and serious.
People voted, and we live in a democracy, and I've been frankly quite astounded by some of the ways in which people have totally trashed the presumption of innocence, and I think the pendulum has swung far too far one way. At the end of the day, these are matters for courts, not the court of public opinion.
Tricky.
Yeah, so, I mean, it's the pathway for Parliament and dealing with this particular MP is clearer if and when there is, guilt as a result of a criminal trial. But we're nowhere near that at this point because of the timeline. So we're talking about the period between now and when this actually goes before the courts. And, as you heard there, our system doesn't quite know what to do.
Well, I think, sorry to just jump in, Sarah, but I think that there was the point made that the electorate voted him in, knowing full well, his record, these allegations and charges against him, and it was the will of the people of Kiama. And that's what democracy is. It's not this, sunshine and rainbows and butterflies all the time. It can be kind of tricky and dicey.
And it's just that, yeah. Do you want to go?
No.
I was just going to say that yes, he's entitled to a presumption of innocence, but where it gets tricky is when you're visiting schools and things like that and working with children checks. So it's quite the pickle.